Yeah, thanks so
Joined
much
in
for
here.
having us. We've been great. It's been great being on Givey. And Neil, John, we've spoke to many times over the years. And thanks,
Yeah.
Gemma, for arranging this. Just wanted to give you some background. So the Hello Beautiful Foundation was set up after my own diagnosis of breast cancer. So we're not from charity backgrounds at all. Kevin's from a financial background and I'm from a design background. And then we set up a design studio together about 10 years ago. Is it 10 years? Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say 5. Yeah,
Happy
10
anniversary.
years ago. And yeah, we do lots of branding, retail design, corporate logos, all sorts of different things, iPad apps, websites, everything. And then 6 months into that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Had no experience of cancer myself, wasn't in my family. I didn't really even know what cancer was. You know, you hear it all the time. I didn't really know what it was, what it meant. And then you're just in the conveyor belt system, it felt like. And I knew in about a week into being diagnosed, I wanted to set up a charity. Initially, just because the hospital environments felt so sterile, and the leaflets I was given was like this lady looking really depressed with a bald head, and it just all seemed doom and gloom and not very inspiring. It's like, I'm a designer, I wear a lot of color, I'm a happy person anyway. Why, just because I got cancer, I'm not going to change into someone miserable and depressed all the time. That's almost felt like I was meant to do that in a way, and people were looking down on me and talking down on me, and doctors and nurses were almost talking like I was an old lady. So we created the charity first to be more uplifting to young people, especially getting diagnosed. We did a lot of awareness campaigns to do with art, awareness, educating people about different types of breast cancer, what it means about losing your breast, and all the different, you know, there's the beauty and change as well, the beauty of having mastectomies or being flat chested, and breaking down stigmas of this society thing of having boobs as a woman and all this. So we just wanted first to talk about, you know, breast cancer awareness in a creative way. Then we got more and more into health and well-being. So we met a lot of people on the way, lots of practitioners and different healers in their field. I was doing a lot of holistic things as well to help me, and I've healed from lots of side effects from cancer holistically, and it's been amazing. So for my own personal experience and other people's as well, we just learned more about health and well-being. So we opened a community space after, how many years? 5 years?
Yeah,
after
we've
the
been,
charity?
about 5 years.
So about 5 years after starting the charity, we did lots of little festivals, mini festivals. We had like pop-up spaces to do art events. And then we opened our place now, which is called Hello Love, which maybe I let Kevin talk about, or should I talk more?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, so as Jane alluded, we started as a design studio, which was initially called Hello Love. And so it's worth just kind of prefacing the difference between Hello Love and the Hello Beautiful Foundation. As a branding studio, we wanted those two to sound similar and work as a family of different stories. You know, one specifically around art, and one specifically around health and wellness, and how we sort of bring those two conversations together. So having a design studio and contacts to different brands and different artists, the Hello Love space is our opportunity to bring all of those different artists and brands together to talk about things that are most important in our society. So in the first instance, we're really talking about personal sustainability and illness prevention. So in addition to helping cancer patients and their families and supporting them, we also encourage people to take lifestyle changes on, you know, hopefully preventing things like cancer and other degenerative diseases. Of course, it's not 100% foolproof, but all we can really do is educate ourselves on some of the things that will make us more robust as people, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. So the space is really broken down into three kind of distinct parts: a home, a studio, and a dojo. The home is really a living space. It feels almost like a Soho house with a sustainable slant to it. Everything in the space is a collaboration, even down to the paint on the walls, non-toxic paint. From Devon. So if you can imagine, when we come home in the evenings from work, or prior to lockdown, when we were actually coming home to, from work,
Mm.
we're actually breathing even the microscopic elements that are coming and emanating from wall paints and different things. So it's important for us to systematically go through every element of our lifestyle to figure out how we can strip out toxicity and how we can become more sustainable. And so the products that you see here in most instances have that sort of social nuance and that sustainable slant to them. At any given time, there's about 250 artists that are participating in the space. And a large number of brands as well. Some of those brands are cosmetics related. So we do a 1 month festival specifically on cosmetics and face creams and hair products and shampoos and various different things, again, that don't have chemicals and pesticides and things that get into our system and ultimately cause the body to malfunction. The second part of the space is the studio. And again, that kind of goes into the artistic element. So we do a lot of art therapy workshops. These are really designed to encourage people to be happy and give them a way to explore their emotions in a way that might not be readily accessible in a pure work environment. Some of these are just advertised directly through the website or through Instagram, but we also often work with different corporations and other charities to have basically retreats for their staff and give them a way to build amongst themselves in a teamwork sort of environment. The third aspect is the dojo, and this is what Jane was mentioning about the holistic practice. So a lot of meditation classes, a lot of qigong and tai chi. In many instances, if you're in a Eastern country, maybe like China, you will automatically get a program of qigong if you are diagnosed with cancer. So these things have been practiced for thousands of years to great extent. And this is basically around moving the body's bioelectricity and what they call qi, the body energy, to reinvigorate the body from within. We do a lot of sound therapy, so crystal singing bowls and alchemy bowls and traditional Tibetan bowls and gong baths. These things have been shown to cause cancer tumors to explode or even be diminished in some instances if you're able to find the right sound frequencies. So again, these are things that have been practiced in Buddhist monasteries, as an example, for many, many years. And it's really time for us to bring this to the mainstream. To kind of realign our spiritual self, if you will, through these sound frequencies. We also do a lot of light entrainment. There is a company called Pandora Star, which is a local company here in the UK that have these light entrainment devices. So you effectively keep your eyes closed, but the lights, kind of shine through the eyelids. And again, it helps you to release tension, and it uses light to do that. So another natural format, for realigning the body. We talk a lot about dream work. So Charlie Morley runs those sessions. This is really around gaining consciousness within the dream state. What that allows us to do is really to access the subconscious and release past traumas that might have been building up over the years because of that kind of direct conversation with our subconscious. So a lot of these things are not necessarily accessible in what they call the waking state. So again, our job here is really to provide an educational platform to allow people to learn from various different practitioners. And in all of these cases, these people have committed their lives to learning and understanding these particular crafts. And each of them have a very unique place for us to explore. Not everything works the same way for everybody. So again, as an educational platform, we really just encourage people to explore what is most interesting and compelling for them. And to the extent possible, and which is the real nature of this conversation today, work together to achieve that. So, one of the most important things that we see today is the collaborative aesthetic to not only healing, but also just creating global sustainability. It's much more difficult to go at it alone. This is something that we already know, power in numbers. So to the extent that we can, use this medium today to really encourage a dialogue around collaboration and potentially put our heads together on ways that we can all work together to survive and thrive through this kind of pandemic situation that's happening, and really, press ahead with really getting society kind of in a more healthy and I guess sustainable, position.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're not from a charity background, we came to this quite unknown, really, and we weren't going down the traditional routes. We didn't really know how to do fundraisers, or we didn't know how to get money in the traditional sense, like applying for grants and everything. It's only through COVID that we've done our first grant applications. So that's been a learning curve as well. So for us, it's always about collaboration. And what was a surprise to us was we thought, oh, going in the cancer community, it's going to be so loving and so collaborative and everyone's going to want to help each other, but it's almost been quite the opposite in lots of cases. I mean, there are some other cancer charities and breast cancer charities that are really collaborative and, it's been great, but there's also this deep competition and almost like separation and not wanting to associate with each other, which we found very strange. And it's like these things shouldn't be happening. We should be collaborative. We should have the same goal. We all want to help people. So why is this, almost this barrier up? And we were really shocked about that from setting up the charity. So that's one thing that I think needs to break down in society, and we just need to come together more. And we offer this space to other charities as well and other organisations. So anyone on the call today that wants to have a space in London to promote their work or do a joint workshop, we're very open. We worked with, so many charities, mental health charities, dog charities, other cancer charities, refugee charities, all sorts. So we're always open to helping others and spreading the message and word as well. So the more we help each other on every point in life, then the better things become.
And one point to that is this idea of story architecture, and if you consider that each of us has a unique story that we are trying to convey, there is actually a way that we can build those stories together to create almost what they would call a symphony of narrative. So for the consumers out there, consuming all of the information that we're giving them, we can actually put it together in a kind of unified front for them to just see that, hey, this is actually quite exciting, and it's cross-pollinating all of the different stories that I'm already interested in. As artists, we see this a lot, through different films and different musical collaborations. We really want to the extent possible, transfer this knowledge to the charity sector and bring different groups together to tell a unified story that's exciting and compelling and very easy for society to get behind. So as Jane alluded to, with the refugee charities and the homelessness charities that we have been, working with, this is just life, you know, and you come in contact with every single element of life at some point and in some shape, form, or fashion. So it only makes sense for us to build these narratives into a kind of unified, you know, conversation.
And
Yeah.
also like so we started as a breast cancer charity just because that was what happened to me, but then we soon extended to all cancers. So we offer free holistic treatments and workshops and things to people with all cancers, but then we also offer things to people with degenerative illnesses and disease, and people come in our front door, which is open all the time, and we never want, you know, we can't turn anyone away. And even through lockdown, we were here making juices and salads, taking them to local hospitals, and all the homeless were left on the street. So then we almost became a homeless charity, providing food and clothes and, you know, conversations with them and just talking and helping them with their problems or getting in touch with some shelter accommodation for them using the internet. So it's like, you just have to, you don't know where life's going to take you, and almost, you know, you just have to be open and help whoever needs helping. And I know there's often money restraints and things like this, but when you're more collaborative as a community and you can really help each other, it's not really about the money, but the resources that we have. So that's really important, I think, to, you know, just come together.
As Jane mentioned, you know, my background being finance, this is something that, you know, in theory, I feel like that I have helped to, bring to the conversation is the kind of financial sustainability element. You know, I think we're moving to a world where people are talking about bitcoins and cryptocurrencies and all sorts of other, you know, forms of payment. But, you know, prior to all of that was really trade and barter, you know, and going from one town to another and being able to share resources. So largely we need to move back to a scenario where we are, providing the resources that we have readily available to those that need them, and in turn accept graciously the resources that we need from other people. And by doing that, again, we're able to reduce costs dramatically. So there's only Jane and myself that operate this charity. There are no full-time employees. So everything, 100% of what we're doing is down to the collaborative aesthetic. So without collaboration, we simply cannot exist. So that is kind of proof and testament that the model works in terms of not only reducing costs, but also moving forward again to a scenario where we can grow and evolve, because each new resource that comes to the equation, there's a slight evolutionary process that takes place as a result of that new resource being brought to the table.
And because we don't do fundraisers normally and grants, our money is raised from, we make a lot of artwork ourselves and we collaborate with about 250 different artists. So they sell their work within our gift shop. And then usually it's 50-50 split. Unless Kevin and I make it, then we donate 100% to the charity, but 50% goes to the artist and then 50% goes back to the charity. But we also support lots of different charities. So it's not only the Hella Beautiful Foundation within the space. So that's how we normally generate our income for the charity. Obviously through lockdown, we had to shut. So then we've been applying for lots of charity grants. But then that was a tough situation, because then we found we were going to places and they said, oh, because you haven't applied before, then you're not on the list and you don't get priority. And then seemed like the bigger charities were getting all the money, and it was a lot to do with who you knew. So yeah, that's been a really tough situation as well. Yeah, it's often very hard for the smaller charities.
Yeah. So we don't want to bore you too much with too long of a chat, but we wanted to make this a kind of open dialogue if possible, and maybe have feedback from anybody in the group to see if there's any questions that they might have or any thoughts that they might have, that maybe we can kind of open it up and have more of a roundtable discussion for the balance maybe of the conversation.
I'll go first. I think your collaboration strategy is very much followed, or we are trying to follow, in a digital fundraising platform point of view. And I think it's tough. I think you're absolutely right that there is a cultural element of that's quite deep in terms of this collaboration. That okay, there might be 10 cancer charities or whatever, all small or whatever, but they all can collaborate and work and learn from each other. And I think our Givey Connect has actually kind of resonated, that from our pool of all the charities have raised money, 2,500 of them or whatever, but there's only probably a single digit percentage, and some of them are actually on this call, on this Givey Connect webinar today, that they are willing to give outside what they do, their day job. And I think that really is, I'm of the same belief that, you know, coming together, we are more powerful, and, you know, we're more impactful. We make a difference in ways that you don't know, basically, you know. And I think John is here, whatever, he always says that it's amazing that you must not ever forget that you know less than what you know more, or that kind of saying. I can't get the saying right, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I think there is a need for, beyond just saying, well, we need to raise money, because obviously most small charities are, you know, survival mode and firefighting and so forth. But I think just opening the window a bit wider, I think that you find, because you know, again, you know, being part of a charity as well, is there's always the question is always, we haven't got the resource, or we haven't got the money. And actually, I do believe exactly what you're saying, is that if you collaborate and get the right community around, these things are doable and manageable, and to be honest with you, more enjoyable and more impactful, and more experience, which is what why we do what we all do, basically, you know. Yeah, very much a shining light in terms of that collaboration. And I think Givey Connect is very much kind of something that's been born out of the pandemic, basically, as well. And it's from the ground up. I mean, he's kind of Gemma's baby, because she's the one that was facing day to day all the charities, you know, coming and talking about, you know, lack of funding or whatever. And I think that has taken a bit of time, and it's kind of evolved. So yeah, no, fantastic, really good.
Well, and we have mentioned this before, but especially with Givey Connect, if you guys ever want to come host a real world experience in addition to your digital, definitely let us know. We can make it a regular thing, and we'd definitely be happy to be involved. It's just amazing work that you guys are doing, and you guys have helped us out tremendously, you know, through the lockdown, and, you know, the fundraisers that we've done with you. So thank you again, you know, for all of that.
Yeah, no, I think we need the physical bit. I think it's not all about digital. You know, I'm really clear, and maybe I'm old about that, but I think I've been having 1 or 2 meetings now off site, and it's fantastic. There's been very much missed, that connection, which you cannot do digitally only.
Yeah.
I'll let other people ask questions now.
Perhaps I could just jump in a little bit. Ever since I met you, Jane, and Kevin, I just thought this is just so lovely what you're doing. You know, I mean, it's just the energy that you guys bring. You know, and you know, I have a sort of a dream that every high street in England has got a Hello Beautiful studio in it. You know, these charity shops that are, you know, we have a view on charity shops. The jumper I'm wearing actually is from a charity shop. I showed that to my boys this morning. So where did you get that jumper? But you know, you totally rebranded or rethought so much, you know, and this whole traditional view we have on charities and on charity shops, or on, as you said about cancer, you put a totally different perspective on the whole thing. You know, and there's just something in me that I've got no idea how you would do it, but if you could just, you know, just take what you've done, you've got the blueprint there of exactly how to run a collaboration. It'll only be a question of time, I think, before that will really start to emerge, and it won't be with a big bang. It'll probably just be organic, really growing it very, very organically, like you're doing. You know, 1 extra comes in, then 2, then 3, then 5, then 8. You know, it's a very, but I'm curious about your sort of roadmap, you know, because I've always been curious about that, and it's you've moved on so much since we last met, but it's just what is the next? Is it, can we ask what the next 1, 2, 3 years looks like for you from your perspective?
I just wanted to go back to when we first started quickly, because you said we're not like a typical charity shop. When we used to do like little festivals and things, and they always used to places in the charity tent. And we're like, no one comes over to the charity tanks, it's so boring. And everyone next to us had really like little leaflets they're giving out or nothing there. And because we're so visual and it's really creative, we were like, we need, it needs to stop being this, like, when we were in the shop, we didn't want to say at all we're a charity shop, because people like, oh, I think it's going to be really cheap and you're giving everything away, or that they don't want to come in. So, the whole thing, everyone comes in every day and says, what is this place? And we say, oh, we're like a charity shop, but not really one that you're used to. So it's like, it's great to be doing something so different and telling people as well, it doesn't have to fit in the normal mold. But going on to the future, though, we do want to open these up in different places. Obviously in the States, Kevin's American, so we'd like to take some out there as well. We realize we've outgrown this place because we do so many different things and it's open plan. So if we're doing a holistic practice downstairs, then you can obviously we've just outgrown it. We need more room.
Well, that's perhaps where Bushra comes in. You've done some great community centres, haven't you, Bushra, in your work?
Yeah, I was literally just thinking, well, lovely to meet you both for a start. My sister went through what you went through, Jane, a couple of years back. I think because she was in Cambridge, it's a very kind of white area, if you like, and because she's a Muslim brown woman, Asian woman, she found it really hard to kind of get the kind of help with the support and the sympathy that she needed. So I think a lot of the time she felt quite lonely. And that, I mean, she had family, which is different, but I think if you do come from a slightly more diverse background, entering into those kind of spaces is really difficult. First, you need the confidence. Secondly, well, there's all sorts of things around that I don't really want to go into now, but I think it's really important to have the kind of space that you're talking about. Secondly, I was, just thinking that would be, I mean, it's such a brilliant and fantastic idea to have a space where people can just come in and feel that calmness and feel that healing. And, I'm based in Croydon. I would love to have something like that here. And there are kind of developers that I'm talking to at the moment. And I said to them, I need a community space. And they were like, yeah, you can have a space. Who do you want it for? But at the moment, I don't really have a charity in mind that would need that space. Because, so I said to them, well, let me see. And what I want is a collaboration, a space where different charities can just kind of drop in. But I love the format that you've got there. And I'd really like to talk to you more about it and how maybe we could talk to the developers about building it into that space as they're going, because I was talking to their architects as well, and they were like, well, if you have any ideas, let us know. And I think because the building is really quite the center of the community, it's kind of like very iconic. So it's where the Peep Show was filmed, and they, and it's kind of a thing of passion for this guy who wants to rebuild it. Then I think this is something that might really resonate with him. So yeah, maybe we can contact afterwards and kind of talk about that.
Yeah, definitely, that would be amazing. And because we do retail design as our day job, then we were able, our own resources can do things without the need for money, because we can design a retail space. So it's all this collaborative effect again that can help build something up without the initial injection of money.
And it's worth pointing out there that at the moment, the only person in our equation that's not the collaborative person is our landlord. So if and when we're able to find people similar to what you've just described, where they want to develop a property and the landlord is fully on board, with the project, this is when we'll see it truly flourish, because there is this constant concern as to how do we pay the rent, as much good as we might be doing. it's lockdown, and the high street is told to be closed, by the government, but the landlord still wants the rent to be paid in full. So this again kind of changes the dynamics of things. If you're always trying to figure out how to recoup money, there is a slight disconnect between trying to do this economic thing versus trying to do a social thing. So to the extent that we find more people that are developers, property owners, this is when this particular type of model can flourish. And what was interesting is that they don't explicitly need to give the property away for free. When sales get made, then they can participate in the economics at the point of sale the same way everybody else does. So in this, Hello Love space, everybody participates at the point of sale. If there's tickets or events that are happening, the people that are curating those events, the practitioners, the artists, they are able to support themselves. And then percentage of every single sale is going to the charity element as well. So,
so in our space, people with cancer come for free, and then other people come and pay, and that helps to fund the free cancer patients as well. So, but like we said, it's not only cancer patients that we help, and we'd like to grow and grow and grow, that we can incorporate even more charities and just be like just a umbrella of helping everybody together, because everything relates as well. Like I might have cancer, but it's still affecting my mental health and my well-being, and lots of ladies that come here have domestic abuse, and they got cancer as well. So there's so much crossover, because life is what we're all living and we're all facing differently.
And it's even financial advice when you have cancer. You lose your job, and you can't cope, and money struggles. And also I think it would be it's a kind of space where you could kind of collaborate with not only charities, council, police, domestic abuse charities, all sorts of people could come together in a space that's kind of not owned by anybody. And the thing that you're talking about, the developer that was working on Westfield in Croydon, he kind of had that belief. And so he gave us a hub for our big local, which is a space that we now have, and we don't pay rent on it, but then they don't have to pay the business rate. So I mean, there's always that trade-off. If it's for charity or community use, there are many developers who would like to see their empty spaces being used, and it's just a question of how do you connect to them, and how do you make them understand that and I think it's got to go through somebody that they trust, because too many community groups go into spaces and then just make money from them, and that's their experience and the experience we've had here. And so there's definitely conversations to be had with developers and people like that. So I look forward to it.
I think Kim wants to say something.
Yeah, I'm really interested. What I've noticed locally, I live in Hertford, so I'm not close to you, but what I've noticed happening in the Hertfordshire area is quite a lot of community hub locations opening up by councils, really. And it seems to be, from our end, it seems to be driven by the Citizens Advice. So the Citizens Advice are running kind of walk-in sessions in these spaces. But the spaces are very poorly used at the moment, because I think they're lacking in ideas of how to use them. So they're not permanent spaces, but they're definitely things that we're using one of them to actually promote our charity on a Saturday for a couple of hours. We just have we hand out leaflets and give away plants and things, just to raise awareness of our charity. But I think that there seems to be a move, certainly in my area, to councils developing these type of hubs and wellbeing centres. And as I mentioned that I work for the Co-op, we're actually supporting a new wellbeing centre which is being created in an old scout hut, and a community hub which is an old betting office, which has actually been kind of donated for a year by Network Homes, who are the developer or social housing people that give the social housing in the area. So, you know, there may be opportunities there. I don't know. Probably harder in London, but I'm guessing there'll be lots of free office space potentially now.
Yeah.
Yeah, even our landlord has some free spaces, but he won't let us expand into there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is the right people out there. Some councils are really good at these sorts of things, but others are a bit behind. But it's just finding the right ones. And
Yeah. And the other thing is that we're, you know, just trying to figure out how, like you said, to bridge the gap, you know, between the people that are in the councils, the people that are in these real estate environments, and those of us that actually need the space. It's almost like you need a brokerage service specifically, you know, for that, because although the council might want to do good, they don't necessarily have that sort of grassroots understanding on how to make it exciting. They can see it, you know, in practice in different places on the high street, but they don't necessarily know the countless hours that all of the various different people have taken to make those different, you know, creative hubs or community hubs work. And in each case, it's going to be completely different, you know, how it works in Hertfordshire versus Croydon versus London. There has to be local people that understand the local audience and they is able to usher in, you know, this kind of broader group of people into that specific community. So a lot of times we get people coming in, Jane makes jokes doing audits, and they just come in to take a lot of pictures to, you know, see kind of what we're doing, and so go reapply it somewhere else. And you know, one guy asked us one time, you know, aren't you worried that somebody will just copy what you're doing and just go along and do it themselves? And our response was that, hey, we're not here to, you know, to try to compete. You know, this again is a collaborative thing. We're not here to try to be a monopoly. If people are copying and emulating what we're doing, that shows that it does have value. And because of the unique element of giving back, if we had one of these on every high street, whether or not it's ours or whether or not it's somebody else's, society as a whole will be that much better, you know, as a result. So it only makes sense for us to lead by example and know full well that people are going to sample our work, just like in the music industry or any other artistic industry. You know, if you do something good, people will follow behind you and create derivative assets, which again people can consume and enjoy as they may.
Yeah, sorry, it is just I was going to say that there are networks that can kind of, you know, community networks like the London GLA Civic Futures Network, where there are, you know, I'm one of those leaders. They'll pick 25 from across London to kind of, you know, come together in this partnership, and they're all about community. They're all about, but they're also about creativeness. They're also about theatre. They're also about art and architecture. So I think that network is a really good network. But also I think at the GLA, you know, they're always, the communities team is always looking for kind of, you know, collaboration. So, you know, it would be really good to get you in touch with maybe an assembly member or a councillor or, you know, somebody like that, and just have that conversation to show them what can be done with obviously very little money, because there isn't any. But I think these kind of things really do prove their worth in terms of impact and how they kind of support the community. And that's what they're looking for. So, yeah, brilliant.
And we work with we work with Boundless Theatre as well. They're a charity group in London. They came in and did a whole week of performances in here, especially with kids and different people. So also for us, it's so beneficial because we get to see different audiences and we get to learn as well about different issues and communities and different people. So we're more really of a you know, we're just open. It's not just cancer. It's like we just get excited about helping everybody in the space.
Can I ask a question about, Neil, can I ask a question? One of the things we're doing with Melissa and I are doing with Givey is to create a sort of digital or virtual version of what we're doing. You know, we've talked a bit about that, and that's really making good progress actually. It's never, like you say, Neil, it's never the same as meeting up physically. But I'm just curious about whether you've explored that anymore. I mean, all this artwork, for example, that you've got with these artists, do they display that online in any way, or is there something, have you given that much thought at all? Or?
We've got an online shop and stuff, because it's just time and effort of us to explore that more, but you're gonna say so.
Well, in a lot of ways, we actually started in digital capacity as well. So prior to getting involved with Hello Love, I had actually co-founded an internet startup. So there is that digital component which still exists, but we needed to, at least in our case, go directly to the people, to give that emotional element to them. But to answer your earlier question, how we look, over the next 3 to 5 years, we will look to expand. We will have to onboard investment money, much larger organizations, in order to, create more of a holistic centers, not just here in the UK, but also back home in the States. I'm not just American, but I am also British American, and also, develop, or should I say, redevelop the online presence. So again, it's been difficult given that it's just the two of us. So we've taken, I guess, the more emotional approach in the first instance. But as COVID has shown, without that online presence, especially if you're going to have wide scale lockdowns and things, pretty much everybody on this, call has to have both the online and a real world, presence. And it's just about how to get that formula right. One of the things that we do to quite good effect is a WhatsApp group for the cancer patients. So that's another digital way to keep people connected. It's slightly different than your regular social network, but it at the same time allows people to talk in a live forum, similar to what we're doing, just over the course of the day. There's no real requirement for them to be there all at the same time. They can kind of read back through the messages that have been happening over the course of the last few hours, and they can, feedback, they can add, photos or inspiration, the same way that you would do in a social media feed, but it's a more private and safe setting, if you will. And that's worked very well for the Hello Beautiful Foundation.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
I think Debbie's joined us. Here, I think there will be connection between what you do and what Hello Beautiful do, actually, in a physical way, which is the key.
We've been working a lot recently with charities who are supporting people with physical health, and it's very important in terms of our work, because tragically for some people their physical health leads them to, or ill health leads them to consider suicide. So we definitely hope that isn't the case for most people. But anyway, apologies for missing most of your talk. I promise to catch up when it's
I think
I'll be sending everyone the recording.
Thank you.
It's actually funny how we were talking about collaboration, because our last month session, where Aisha, who was with us before, she was talking about collaboration as well. And she's really eager, to start collaborating with other charities, and it seems to be a common topic at the moment. So I don't know, like Claire and Debbie, if you've had any experience collaborating with other charities, but it seems to be something that maybe we need to start writing down some notes, like best practices, how to get it, how to achieve it.
We do it all the time, and sometimes it's easy. Of course, when you meet like-minded people, when there's a common goal, and you don't, there's, what's that saying, something about if you don't mind who takes the credit, it's incredible what you can achieve. But sadly, there are also charities who will not work with other people. They're very protective, and their funding streams, there's, well, anyway, just there are some charities that don't want to collaborate. And sometimes those can be the bigger boys. and girls.
Correct.
They want to play fair. Sorry.
I think we got all of us. Debbie, you missed exactly what Jane said, so you kind of already connected.
Okay, there you go.
I think what you said there, Debbie, is really important. You have to have a common goal. And I think the interesting thing with what you're doing, Jane and Kevin, is sometimes these goals are events, aren't they? And there is a space. Yeah. There is a canvas on which you're painting this collaboration. And I think a lot of people talk about collaboration all the time, but they don't really know exactly what that means. Or what, and they don't have a common goal as such. So whereas you've got this physical space and it's evolved, doesn't it? The collaboration's evolved in quite an organic way. So I think that will be something to explore in the future. What does that really look? What does a collaboration really look like in practice?
So you're going to say something?
Yeah, you can go ahead first.
I was just going to say, because ours has evolved, just because lots of charities don't have we're open door policy, so people are walking in every day. You never know who's going to walk through the front door. So we don't know, this afternoon someone might come in from another charity who's got an amazing idea and wants to work together. So collaborations just happen naturally just from talking to one another, and you just never know. You just have to be open to everything, really.
And one thing to kind of point out is that although the common goal might not necessarily be visible on first glance, part of our job, again, and we experience this a lot as a design studio, working with corporate brands, but part of our job is to really dissect those brands and figure out where the common goal is. So we are of the belief that there are aspects that connect every single man, woman, and child or other pronoun on the planet together. No matter what it is, there is at least one thing, no matter how deep it is, that connects them. And that small connection is maybe all it takes to bring two different groups together. So part of the exercise, again, that we do, sometimes it's almost like a freestyle. You just put two words on paper and you try to figure out how those two words are interconnected. And by the same token, you can do the same exercise with two different brands, or you can do the same thing with two different charities or two different, themes. If we take homelessness and refugees as a good example, it might not be immediately clear that half of the people that are homeless were refugees. We see the people up close and personal here on Southampton Road, because you look and you notice that they're homeless, but they have a mobile phone, they have an iPad, and you say, well, actually, these people were just like me in the country that they just came from, but because of their unfortunate circumstances at the moment, they're now in a situation where they don't even have housing. But literally just next door, there's more hotels than you can possibly imagine. And in the very same way that those hotels have the free space, they could very easily allow some of these people to stay there, and the government could give them assistance to do that. But in a similar to the way that you, Gemma, mentioned that, or Debbie, sorry, that you mentioned that many of the bigger people don't want to collaborate. A lot of the times it has to do with the people that are backing those larger charities. So it's no longer the social interests, it's, the political interest of the big groups that are behind them. And we found out that many of the larger cancer charities out there actually own stocks in a lot of the large pharmaceutical companies, as an example, which means those people may or may not be interested in a holistic approach, simply because the holistic approach maybe creates a problem with the bottom line of their pharmaceutical sales, right? So, and we will always, again, we're not opposed to working with a pharmaceutical company or a large charity. We think that there's many ways that we can tell Coca-Cola how they could create a sustainable drink. We're not saying that just because your drink has too much sugar in it for cancer patients that we don't want to support Coca-Cola. I'm from Georgia. I like the idea of Coca-Cola, but there must be some ways that we can, again, bridge the gap between what is healthy, and what is just for a cheat day, perhaps, and again, they're big enough, they're large enough that they could commit some financial resources to something like this.
I think it's very good to hear. It's collaboration to the proper extent, not necessarily isolating just because it's their main brand or their main focus is that. You've got to be, but I think you've got to be very clear about your core values and your core mission, and then you've got to map it to whoever comes through the door, if you like, to that, and your kind of due diligence on ensuring that you stick to, this is the way we collaborate. And if they meet that, fantastic. If they don't, you need to be, it's just as important to just walk away and say no, basically. And I think that's really where the balance comes, in terms of not being, if you're mission driven, that's always a challenge. And we talk about this a lot internally, Bushra, John, me, this mission driven, and then obviously, as you said, the financial side of maintaining and continuing the operations to that mission. And suddenly somebody comes with a big waving checkbook, and you think, and I think this is where really important. But I do believe that actually collaboration and the pandemic hopefully is moving the dial forward to a lot of the small charities to really appreciate that if they don't collaborate, they're gonna die, basically. I believe,
we often, lots of people are turned away just because we have so many values. We're sugar free, we're all organic. So brands come in and say, can we stock our healthy bars or something? And we say, well, it's got sugar in, it's got this chemical or this emulsifier. So we have got really strict values, but then we're open to help you develop a product that maybe doesn't have all these emulsifiers and things in. So
correct.
Yeah, it's just education and helping and being open to everything.
Yeah, very, very good.
And one of the things that you're talking about, Kevin, is the kind of power, where the power lies in the charity sector. And I think there's a lot of discussion going on at the moment around the charity sector, the bigger names having huge issues around discrimination and bullying and kind of all sorts of things going on. And I think there is kind of like a movement of people who want it to change. And because at the moment, one of the things I heard somewhere was, some guy, asset-based community development, saying, it really benefits these kind of charities to have people who need them, right? Because if you fix them all, there wouldn't be a need. So, and that was something that puzzled me for years and years while I was looking at, the Croydon kind of journey that I was on. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, 10 years ago, we got all this money to fix these people and we're in a worse situation. So what happened? Where did the money go? And then, it suddenly dawned on me, well, actually, it's an inefficient use of the money because they don't want people to get fixed. They don't want people to be self-sufficient. They don't want people like you to come and bring different kind of, a different kind of energy and a different kind of passion to say, well, actually, hang on a minute, we might be able to show you a different way, because then here's a CEO on whatever he's earning who's going to lose out, and they are very protective. So that's a whole conversation, but I think we really need to have it.
Yeah. And at some point, it's really going to come down to us as a society, again, kind of wisening up to the fact that this problem exists. And then maybe hopefully getting the governments to be accountable for, helping to level the playing field and make governmental money widely available to these grassroots organizations that are not run by political figures. And unfortunately, that's just the lay of the land at the moment, is that it's really about who more so than who you are able to actually help. So a lot of those larger charities are really run as businesses. They're not really designed to help. Like you rightly mentioned, they're not really designed to help because it's all a part of a much wider infrastructure of just keeping society needing those particular resources. and I don't want to get too political on this, call, but if we tell ourselves that they are doing vaccinations today, and then the companies are receiving record profits, but people are still, needing whatever it is that they might be offering, there's something that just doesn't make sense, that there can be so many profits made at such an expense to the people that need whatever it is that, is ultimately being offered.
There is a real, for me, I don't know if you experience this as well, but there's a mindset of lack, and a mindset that a lot of people come with, at least my observation is this understanding of physical laws, like there's only so much, and if you use it up, there's not enough for me. And so, when you talk about helping a company think about products that meet the needs of your customer base, which is no sugar, this and this, it's not saying you can't produce sugar-laden products for those people that love them, but there is actually a need here, and so sometimes I find myself then tapping into that lack mindset. And if I can help people see, oh, actually, there's a good reason to address this need. It's not necessarily the way I want to do it, but if that's the way I'm going to move their dial and get them engaging with us because I meet the need in them to, well, in that particular example, sew up another part of the sector, then so be it. Hopefully along the way you educate them and you move things along.
Yeah, we typically have to really communicate that to people, because some people might come in and they think, oh, well, these guys are just hipsters and they're, doing this because this organic vegan bar, because that's the all the rage these days. And we say, well, we actually started, working with the Gersten Institute. This is how our whole menu actually even took shape in the first place, was because we were creating things specifically for cancer patients. It just so happens that we're making it widely accessible to people on the high street because we are located on the high street. So today, maybe you just try one sugar-free drink. It's not going to hurt you. You might actually find that you enjoy it. We have a lot of the conversations around whether or not they're going to have almond milk or coconut milk, and how, again, it's just so trendy, but in reality, if you did a blind taste test, many people would probably not even, notice the difference between, what's being created with the healthier alternative.
Absolutely. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, it all sounds fantastic. Really, really good. Well,
So,
I mean, it is the end of our session. I think we could talk about this all day. I think we're going to have to pause it and continue, definitely, because this is a really important and interesting topic. And Jane and Kevin, you've really been really inspiring today. I'm just going to pass it on to Sarabi.
finish off.
Yeah.
Recent.
You're on mute. Sorry, Sarabi.
Ooh, okay. I'm muted now. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarabi, and I've been interning with Givey for the past 2 months. And it's been my absolute pleasure to work with such a wonderful team dedicated to such an important cause as this. I've especially loved working with Gemma planning this call. So a special thanks to Jane and Kevin for leading this session, and to all of you for coming. And yeah, that's the end of our session. And we hope to see you in the next Givey Connect. And that's on the 6th of November.
Oh, well done, sir.
Sorry.
Sorry, is he there?
You're on mute. There you go.
Sorry, I lied. It's on the 3rd of November. 3rd of November. Put it down in your calendars.
Thank you so much, Sarabi. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
We'll talk offline.
Bye.
Bye.